Hey, Lance here, the Vintage Speaker Audiophile. Um, I've been seeing a lot of questions about streaming lately, and quite a while ago I put together a presentation on how the architecture of streaming lays out and how you can use various components to, even stuff you have. I mean, if you've never streamed before, you can stream with a TV. You can stream with your phone. You can stream with all sorts of things. So I thought it might be worthwhile to resubmit this or republish this presentation under a title called let's say Streaming 101. I mean, the original presentation only got 34 views, so I didn't get any traction with it. But I think the content here is worthy again, as I've seen lots of questions along these things. So here, take a look at this presentation. This gives you an idea of what it takes to stream audio, all the possibilities you have for streaming audio, and what you can do with what you have, and what's important and what's not. Vintage Speaker Audiophile. Thanks. Hey, Lance here, the Vintage Speaker Audiophile. I've had quite a few discussions recently about what it takes to stream and what it looks like, what an installation of streaming looks like. Where are the critical components, what isn't quite as necessary, etc. And I thought I'd just throw together a quick presentation on what I call an architectural snapshot of a streaming setup. So, instead of streaming is where we access music files out on the internet, out on the cloud. Instead of having a wall of vinyl or cassette tapes or something that we plug into an analog device like a turntable or a cassette player, we use software to go out and access these files and download these digital files and then convert them in what's called a DAC, or a digital audio converter, on the fly, and then feed them into our traditional stereo system. So let's take a quick look. This is what we used to do, and a lot of us still do this. We have some sort of input device like a turntable. We use RCA cabling to a preamp and a power amp, which is often combined. A preamp and a power amp combined is called an integrated amp. A preamp, power amp, and tuner combined is called a receiver. Now, most of you probably already know that, but some people don't. And then, of course, we have speakers, which we use speaker wire to get to. Streaming adds a whole nother layer. This is a little busy chart, and we're going to spend a little bit of a time on it. So if we work ourselves, let's go from right to left. You have your speakers and your power amp and your preamp, but instead of a turntable or a cassette table sitting in front of that, you have something called a DAC, which is a digital audio converter. It takes the digital music files and converts them to audio so that you can plug into your existing preamp and play those. Now, where does the DAC get its digital audio files? That's from something we call the streamer. The streamer is a piece of hardware. It can be dedicated hardware. It can be combined with something else. But the streamer runs the application that you're going to use for accessing these music files. Now, there's lots of applications out there. I'm sure you've heard of Tidal, Qobuz, Deezer, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Pandora. The list goes on and on. And that's where the most common place to start is just to say, I'm gonna use a particular streamer software, and then that will drive the streamer hardware that you're going to get your hands on. So let's take an example. This is one of my examples. I have this set up at my house. You can do all this with just a smart TV and an AVR. So anybody that wants to get started with streaming can get started pretty quickly. All you need is a smart TV. Most smart TVs will have something like YouTube installed on it, and you'll most AVRs. Well, the TVs will have an optical out to send the digital audio signal out to an external DAC or to an AVR that has the DAC combined in it. I have a Denon AVR. It's got a receiver. It's got a preamp. It's got a power amp. It's got the DAC inside it. So I really only have two pieces here, and I can get together and actually experience some streaming, and I can do this free because YouTube is free, and presumably you have the TV already. Let's look at one more example, and again, this is an example I have here at the house. My main system will run either YouTube or Tidal on a Fire Cube. An Amazon Fire Cube is a little box that sits in front of the TV and the AVR. It feeds HDMI to my AVR, which is processed into analog via the built-in DAC. I currently do not have an external DAC. I have had external DACs in the past, and I have tested them out. And generally, I will say is this is where you get your money's worth. The DAC is the most critical component in this whole process because it's doing the conversions from the digital signals to actual analog signals that your preamp can process. You can get DACs for tens of dollars. You can get DACs for tens of thousands of dollars. And I think the general consensus is the more you spend, the better DAC you're probably going to get. I had a beautiful little DAC. It was a Klipsch Heritage DAC. They only made one of them. And I played with that for a year and ended up auctioning it off on eBay at a really, really nice price because it was sought after. So this is, another quick example of how you can get up and running with streaming. So I want to take you now to the last chart, which is the complicated chart, and it really breaks all this down and gives you some individual choices. Let's start on the left here. Something we haven't talked about yet is the quality of the data files that are going to be stored on the server. There's two types of music files. One we call lossless, which has all the original informational content in the file. Another one we call lossy, which is almost always correlated to compression to reduce the file size. And lossy files have some information compressed out of them. Now, a lot of people can hear the difference between lossless and lossy music. I can't myself. I think my ears are too old. I'm 61 years old and I don't hear past 12K. I know a lot of the compression and information losses in the higher frequencies because we don't hear them anyway. But this is critical, and it's driven by your streamer software. For example, if I chose YouTube as my streamer software, I don't have a choice for lossless downloads. I only have a choice for lossy downloads using the Opus codec, which is a pretty good codec. It's pretty good. I'm happy with it. If, in contrast, I choose some of these others, like Tidal, let's say, Deezer, these usually have lossless audio files that they can download. They may not be as a default. They may default to lossy, so you have to be careful. When you set up your software here, you want to make sure that you're getting lossless downloads. But as you can see, your choices there's a lot of choices for your music source. There's a lot of choices for your streamer operating system and streamer hardware. Like I said, I had a Fire Cube. There are dozens of, hundreds of streamers out there. Again, you're gonna get what you pay for. But I will add this, and that is that the quality of the streamer will not have as much effect on the quality of the overall listening experience as the DAC does. And the reason is the streamer is just processing digital information. And digital information is not like analog information. Analog information is stuff that can have decay in it. It can degrade. It can have a lot of quality issues. Whereas with digital information, it's either usually right or wrong. I mean, if there's a digital file that needs to be processed, the software processes it through the hardware to the DAC, and it gets there correctly. Because if it couldn't process it, it would have an error. So I said you get what you pay for, but I wouldn't rush out and spend all my money on a high-end streamer versus I would spend more money on a DAC. The DAC is where things really come into play. So here's your choices. I'm sure there's a lot more. I'd appreciate hearing in the comments what kind of setups that you have. Have you done anything like I've done, or have you done something different? And if I missed a few of these pieces of software or hardware that you think is notable, let me know. Thanks, Lance here, the Vintage Speaker Audiophile. Hit that like button if you find value with this, and subscribe, please.